The Cowboys and over 69,000 chilled fans waited to see if the so-called Cleveland jinx would prevail. The Cowboys and their coaches, who strongly felt that this was the finest Dallas team yet, were on record as being certain it wouldn't. But on a cold, wet, rainy day in the Cotton Bowl, they were proved wrong again. This onside kick in the fourth quarter vividly represents the misery that was Dallas's today. Even when they did things right, they turned out wrong. Cleveland was stopped in the first series of the game, and it looked like Dallas had a break when Don Cockcroft's punt went straight up in the air. But the ball hit Rayfield right, and Bob Matheson recovered for the Browns. It was Cleveland who had the big break, and it was all they needed. Bill Nelson promptly passed over the middle to Milt Morin to put the ball within running distance of the Dallas goal line. But to get there, Cleveland had to run against Dallas's doomsday defense, which prided itself in being the toughest unit in league history to run against. Only 3 touchdowns were scored against them on the ground all season long. Their aura of invincibility was quickly punctured when Bo Scott easily skirted left end for a Cleveland touchdown and a 7-0 lead for the Browns. Dallas was never the same. Cleveland completely dominated the ball game from then on. Calvin Hill was stopped cold by a ferocious front line, and when Dallas tried to pass, they found their receivers blanketed. Morton missed on his first 7 passes, and his favorite target, Lance Rensel, didn't catch a pass until the game was almost over. The reason was the clever Cleveland secondary, which disguised its coverage so well. A confused Morton couldn't tell which of his ends were being single or double covered. This total devastation of Dallas's complex offensive machine was Cleveland's answer to Tom Landry's tag of rubber band defense. The Cowboys' receivers continually came up empty. Meanwhile, in the first half, Bill Nelson and Paul Warfield successfully employed Blanton Collier's game plan of throwing medium-range passes. Nelson hit All-Pro Warfield on quick slices, despite the Cowboy tactic of switching Mel Renfro to cornerback in the obvious passing situations. But to Warfield, who totaled 8 catches for the day, it didn't matter if his defender was Renfro or rookie Otto Brown. He burned them both. Late in the first half, Morin took a Nelson pass off a play action to Kelly, and instead of running to daylight, preferred to run into someone. But despite such Neanderthal tactics, Cleveland had a first down on the Dallas 23. Nelson, who was thrown only once today, had plenty of time to thread the needle to Warfield between defenders Renfro and Brown. Leroy Kelly powered over left tackle for an apparent score. But illegal procedure was called, and instead of 6 points, the Browns had 6 yards to go for a touchdown. Again, with excellent protection, Nelson coolly passed to his tight end, Milt Morin, who beat Renfro in the end zone. Cleveland had refused to allow a setback to deter them, and they had their second score of the game with less than 2 minutes remaining in the half. But Cleveland wasn't finished. They forced Dallas to punt again, and with 28 seconds left, Nelson, having perhaps his finest game as a pro, fired to Warfield inside Cowboy territory. With just 19 seconds left, and Dallas knowing Nelson would try to get the ball in field goal position in the middle of the field, the Cleveland quarterback drilled a perfect pass over the middle to Bo Scott, who lost the ball, but after the whistle had blown. Nelson had now hit 15 of 22 passes. 5 seconds left. Don Cockcroft put the ball through from 22 yards out, and Cleveland led 17-0. The 10-point explosion within 2 minutes was important because it sent the Browns into their locker room rolling, the Cowboys into theirs reeling. Dallas had been held to the incredible total of 39 yards, but at the start of the second half, Morton threw with authority for the first time. It looked like Dallas might move. But again, the Cleveland defense made the big play when it was most needed. With 4 tacklers hanging all over him, Morton tried to get off a pass, and linebacker Jim Houston picked it off, and looking like the offensive end he was at Ohio State, tore 35 yards to the Dallas 19-yard line. The big play, once again, was made by the Browns. Then Nelson looked left, threw right, and Kelly took the swing pass and streaked to the 2-yard line. His running mate, Big Bo Scott, ripped in for his second touchdown, and the Browns had a commanding 24-0 advantage. It was obvious their halftime momentum had not dwindled. But Dallas was still alive. Morton was hit, but still got off a strong pass to his tight end, Pettis Norman, for the Cowboys' deepest penetration of the day. Dallas fans finally had something to yell about. A few plays later, despite a mix-up in the backfield, Craig Morton got a Dallas score to bring his team within 17 points. With an entire quarter remaining, the Cowboys were still very much in the game. Leroy Kelly ended whatever hope the Texans had. Nelson had anticipated the blitz and burned them with the draw, which went for 39 yards. The Cowboys had keyed on Kelly, but they couldn't contain him all day. As the fourth quarter began, Leroy Kelly went up the middle for the Browns' 4th touchdown and their 3rd on the ground. Cleveland, in one game, equaled the total scored against the Doomsday defense by rushing in the previous 14 games. Whatever doubt remained regarding the outcome of the game vanished with startling suddenness when rookie Walt Sumner stepped in front of Walt Garrison and sprinted 89 yards down the sideline with the ball. Sumner, a season-long replacement for the Browns' fine injured cornerback Ben Davis, had been picked as the target in Dallas's game plan. But like so many other things for Dallas this day, the aerial attack on Sumner never came. The Cleveland Albatross was well and thriving in Dallas. The Browns, with the youngest team in their successful history, had routed what had been billed as one of the super squads in football. This earned them the privilege of meeting the powerful Minnesota Vikings in the NFL Championship in Minnesota on Sunday. An earlier confrontation of the two teams resulted in Cleveland's most embarrassing loss of the year, a 51-3 shellacking. But today, with Bill Nelson, the pass master of the air lanes, and the Browns' young defense rising to the occasion, it is not too difficult to envision a Cleveland championship and a trip to New Orleans for the Super Bowl.